everyone, John here from All Miniatures Great and Small, and today we're going to be doing a review slash unboxing for some American Civil War miniatures. These are from Thoroughbred Miniatures, and they make several historical periods, obviously American Civil War being one of them. It's a period I like. I haven't really collected miniatures for this period before. I've always been on the fence, but you know, looking at these, I decided I wanted to take a shot on them and see what they look like. So we'll tell you, this review is going to be an unbiased review. I did purchase these with my own money, but in full disclosure, the owner was nice enough to send me some samples as well. We'll take a look at those. But first up, though, we're going to look at these kits. Now, this is like an adversary pack, so each one of these has each one of these three has 2 ships in it. So, for example, this one probably is the most famous of them all. It's the Monitor and the Merrimack. These are all 1/600 scale ships, and we'll open them up so you can kind of get an idea of what they look like. So I will say, I'm not sure if Thoroughbred Miniatures is, you know, how big a company is, if it's just one guy or several people there, but you know, these really niche products typically don't come from very big companies, and so my first impression, at least of the packaging, is pretty cool. I mean, it's well packaged. The clamshell, I already removed the tape to make this easier, so it wouldn't pop over. So the first thing we get is a instruction sheet. Including some history, assembly notes, general painting tips. Very cool. And then here we have both ships. So there's your Monitor and the Merrimack. Well, that's funny, the ram has pushed out of the package, doing what it was meant to do in real life. There we go. And no damage on that ram at all. So there's the Merrimack, or the Virginia, if you will, for those of the Southern persuasion. So these are pretty good sized models. I mean, I knew they're 1/600 scale, and I guess I could have done the math beforehand, but yeah, that's a pretty decent sized miniature. The Merrimack runs about just a hair over 5 inches on my very beat up ruler here, whereas the Monitor comes in at about almost 3.5. Very cool. Let's take a look at the casting here. Clean and crisp. Sorry. I don't know if that's a mold line or not, but I bet that'll just come out with some sandpaper. And always, when you buy metal kits in particular, always have some cleanup to do. Resin kits too, traditionally, but so that's something that's expected, and not anything to ding a product. You're always going to expect to have some cleanup on these. And then here we're going to go ahead, I'm going to go ahead and assemble this guy just so we could see him, but before I assemble him, you got some boats. Looks like a flag with a sticker, your stack. Cool. And then before we assemble him, let's go ahead and open up the Monitor. The hull of the Monitor. turret goes there, pilot house goes there. And the pieces. Good detail on the turret. All right, let's go ahead and assemble these and then show you guys. Well, I didn't have a timer on me, but I'd say it probably took about an hour to assemble all 6 of these ships. They were pretty easy. Very little filing needed to be done. The only thing I did not add to these ships, some of these ships have little boats. I'm not going to add those till after they're painted. But I think the Merrimack here has one, and the Cairo. So now you can kind of see them together, you know, put together. Oh, I didn't glue the turrets because I like playing with the turrets during the game. This is the Merrimack. Again, with that glare, it's a little bit harder to see the detail, but nicely done. Now, this is an older line, so I imagine these are all hand sculpted, but they look really good, and they really hold up. So this is the Tecumseh, I think so, monitor. And this one is the Tennessee, I believe. Yeah, I think that's the Tennessee. And then some of the detail. This is the Cairo, an armored paddle wheel. And the Arkansas. I did glue the flagpoles on. I imagine I'll trim them down. And just a word of caution, they are very sharp. They're like syringe sharp almost. Yeah, just keep that in mind. I was trying to place it in the hole there, and it wasn't, it kept sticking to my finger, and I thought I got super glue in it, but it was actually just stabbed into my finger. So just keep that in mind. It can be sharp. But overall, I like these. So this again was like the combo kits, and you do save a significant amount of money buying them as the combo kits, as long as you want both of them. For example, I think these two were $28, and I think these two were $28 for 2, and then these were $24 total. If you were to buy them individually, I believe something like the Merrimack here would run you $20. Monitor would be $12. So, you know, that's $32 if you bought them separately, so you're saving a little bit of cash there. So this, I would say, would be the premium line. Again, these are nice big models, and I think they're going to look good on the table, particularly at a distance. You can still see what they are. I'm sure these guys will show up in a future what's on the table, because I'm kind of excited to get some paint on them. Civil War ironclads are not the most beautifully painted ships. The monitors, for example, were primarily black. You know, it's going to be blacks, grays, browns. That's what most of these ships are going to be painted. So I imagine that process isn't going to be too complicated, but I'll have to experiment a little bit. I don't want to make these guys pure black just because of scale and weathering. The black shouldn't be pure black, so I'm thinking a darker gray for those, with some washes. But we'll see, and you know, once I get them painted, we'll have them up there. Now, I did want to talk about the sample items that Thoroughbred sent. They sent a 1/1200 scale ships. So these are American Civil War, but basically they're half the scale of this. And if you were to buy them from their website, they would be less expensive than the ships you're seeing here. The cool thing is it looks like these are one piece. Let's go ahead and open up this one. This is the, oh no, not one piece. This is the monitor. Let's see if we can get, how cute is that little guy? And it does have a separate pack with, looks like the stack, the smokestack. And you can see kind of compared to that. And then they also sent a 1200 scale. This one is a Tennessee. So I'm not really losing a lot of the detail going from 600 to 600 to 1200 scale. So these would be to scale with like my GHQ ships of the line. So this guy is basically just a miniature version of this guy. What they don't have are these ports on the side, on the deck, sorry, which I believe those are just like vents for below deck ventilation. You know, there's not a hint of those on here. But you can see, like, for example, this guy has 6 of them. But I think at that tiny scale, the pieces would either be so small as to really be something you can't see from any kind of distance. But that is kind of cool if you're, you know, if budget's a concern, and it's a concern for a lot of us, you might look at this smaller 1200 scale. Whereas the monitor, I think, was $12 in that scale. It's like, I think this was $6 in this scale. So basically half the price, or if you want to spend the same amount of money, double the amount of ships you can get. So those are pretty cool. I really like those. You could have like a, you know, a travel edition of American Civil War naval combat. So there you go, guys. That is a look at Thoroughbred Miniatures. My final thoughts on it. Are these guys worth it? Well, you could tell that there is a lot of care and love in these sculpts. The people at Thoroughbred know their subject, and these models look great. There was no real flashing or anything like that. Most of the kits, well, all the kits kind of went together without any problem. There's not a ton of parts to them. They are some tiny parts, some of these vents, for example, on some of these ships. They're very small, so if you use you know, tweezers is very helpful. But almost all of the holes were drilled out perfectly. I think I only had one that needed to be drilled out just a little bit more, and that was just a tiny bit. But otherwise, I think they're great. Price-wise, they are kind of expensive. Like I said, this guy's 20 bucks US at the time of this video coming out. So you ask yourself, is that worth it to you? And obviously, I can't answer that. Am I going to get more of these guys? Maybe. There's a couple of my favorite American Civil War ships that I don't have yet. That would be nice. But we'll see. I know that the prices are kind of high. There are other manufacturers of American Civil War ships at this scale. Maybe at some point I'll pick up 1 or 2 of those to see. And I believe those are a little bit cheaper, but the quality of the, at least of the images they have online, looked like they weren't as good as these guys. And that's something I will say too, for a lot of these companies, Thoroughbred was pretty good. They had some decent pictures, but a lot of these smaller niche producers really should look at upgrading some of their their web stores, because it's these guys had some decent pictures of assembled models, but some of the other manufacturers I looked at when I was considering who to buy from either had a very tiny thumbnail, like would work perfectly if you're running a modem or something like that, but you really don't get an idea of what it is. So to be honest, that might have kept me from purchasing from those companies initially. Thoroughbred had some bigger pictures, really gave you an idea of what you're getting. Again, I wasn't prepared for the size of those, but that's more on me. I just didn't do my research. And I love the size. I love the fact that these are so big. You can actually, at this size, they make decent display pieces if you want to. And these little guys are just cute. If you have limited space, limited funds, and you want to get into this period, the 1200 scale is something you want to take a look at as well. I think they have a very good range of ships, both in 600 and 1200 scale, like 30 or 40 different ships. So they really got a lot. And again, other manufacturers are out there as well. So final thought, should you invest? If you're interested in the period, you're looking for great quality representation of these classic historical ships, definitely check out Thoroughbred Miniatures. They are good. The owner, who I talked with on email, was very friendly and knowledgeable, and had a great transaction. They got it out quick, and couldn't ask for more. So there you go, guys, a look at American Civil War miniatures from Thoroughbred Figures. As always, we appreciate you watching. Please check us out on Facebook at All Miniatures Great and Small. You can follow us there for keeping up to date with what we're doing. Also, we'd really appreciate a like and subscribe here on YouTube. Let me know down in the comments below what you think. Have you guys ever had this range? Have you had other ranges? Are you interested in this period? Just really curious what you guys think. So, as always, thanks for watching, guys, and keep on wargaming.